see if they are going to reveal where this Karma pick is going. You'd have to think Crown, given the fact that his DPS has been, or DPM I should say, has been so high.
You don't really want to show it now though, do you? I guess maybe leaving your counter pick for top lane. Does CuVee have a carry? That's kind of the question we're left with, because if CuVee has a carry, sure, you can leave it. And the Vladimir answer from Faker was the Anivia, and that has always been the ability to wall off the Vladimir and either take him down quickly or separate him from the team fight is strong. And it will be Anivia, but this does mean Anivia and Ashe, so both those carries, very immobile.
Yes, but also have ice synergy. I don't think you considered that.
That's true. The Frosty champions.
That's right. Okay, so where is Longzhu?
I think you take Jhin here.
Going to go
Oh, sorry,
this.
they've already got a Sivir.
They have the Sivir. We also don't know whether that Vladimir still theoretically could go top lane, but the fact that Expession hasn't switched over his summoner spell yet is a bit indicative of a lack of a top lane Vladimir.
You saw the hover on Lissandra. We haven't seen a lot of Lissandra, but anyone that can get onto the back line is going to be pretty happy if you can take down either the Anivia or Ashe. We saw the Irelia lock. The Irelia play was good from Expession, but he goes such a tanky build that he actually had pretty low threat by the time the late game rolled on. Now, if you fight early with Trinity Force tanky, for sure you can take down an Ashe, but if you wait long enough, you do kind of get outscaled by even just base stats, because you just don't die in one rotation of spells, but it will stick with what worked. They'll stick with the Irelia, and it confirms the mid lane Vladimir.
So that Anivia will be quite happy into that Vladimir, and the Trundle would be, I think, a bit of a mistake right here, because it does give a little bit of carte blanche to this Irelia to build damage and actually match up with the Trundle in the early game.
We did see Trundle win that laning matchup a couple of days ago, but that may have just been Duke being too damn good for Beyond.
I think that's likely.
Well, I mean, it's a fact, but also
yes.
we need more data points for the matchup, and we're going to get them. So if we do see 1v1, it'll be interesting to track, because just the Grasp of the Undying Trundle was able to take out and effectively solo kill the Irelia. Somehow I doubt that's going to happen again this game, but we did see a solo kill from Expession last game, if you remember.
Yeah.
Very early into what was that long 60-minute plus epic.
Look, I'm just happy we're not seeing the Echo anymore, Papa Smithy. That Echo pick, I've seen it now from CuVee and Trace. I am not convinced that after the nerfs, this top lane Echo is any good. But Longzhu here, trying to bolster up the Vladimir engage with a Sivir ultimate.
I mean, Vladimir and Irelia are both going to be running in with the Sivir ult. It's pretty elementary stuff.
Yeah, but having to deal with wall, having to deal with volley, having to deal with pillar, having to deal with karma speed, I really don't like Longzhu's odds of being able to engage a 5v5 team fight.
Well, set up a winning split lane push, maybe take some dragons, otherwise could see another long epic, or maybe it'll be Samsung steadying with a victory.
I'm curious about this Trundle Irelia matchup too, and if we can see Longzhu perhaps winning the 4-1 split push, does seem a bit unlikely. So we are going to head into game number 2 of this series right now. Of course, Longzhu, after an hour-plus long game, did eventually snatch that victory, and they are looking to close out 2-0. So let's get on to the Rift. Mountain Drake will be the first one here on Summoner's Rift in Game 2 of Longzhu versus CuVee, and it's match 27, which means that we are more than halfway through our first round robin, which consists of 45 matches.
That was quick, but does mean there's going to be plenty more top-level League of Legends in this season as we start to cement the teams that will be representing Korea at the World Championships in September and October. Looking at the Keystones, Fury is going to be going for the Warlord's Bloodlust, and Coco has been sticking with the now standard Strength of the Ages for Vladimir.
Well, when HP becomes AP, why not, Papa Smithy?
Well, I mean, more AP now with the changes. Conversion rates are good. Exchange rates have changed, so now health is the investment target for Coco.
I didn't know there was an Earth Nami skin.
There is. It's actually quite old now. Been out of the loop, Monte Cristo.
Out of the skin loop. Well, Nami's been out of the competitive scene loop.
Fair. Deep Sea Nami, though, is coming soon, so we will need to go back and see if it's quite as annoying as River Spirit. They'll have a field day with that.
I don't think he will. I think he won't like it.
Well, he has a field day not liking things sometimes. You know him well. We both do.
I thought I was the one who had a field day not liking things.
It's true. You don't like many things, man.
But I do like Irelia versus Trundle matchups and seeing how they unfold before our eyes.
Well, so far,
Level 1, it's not going to be very exciting.
no. Actually, there might actually be a pushing advantage for CuVee in the matchup because he has an auto attack cancel at level 1. So theoretically can do more damage since neither laner has AoE.
Poking. Coming down the bottom side.
Coco is going to push, push, push.
For now, but pre-6.
Yep.
Pre-6. Brown with the Glacial Storm will be able to deal with that. Worth noting that Anivia was nerfed a little bit on this patch.
It's all about the mana cost of the ultimate going up. The big change in the rework was the fact that now the AoE from the ultimate does start very small, so when it comes to the pretty standard launching the E, then casting the R, you have to be very accurate. It's not as forgiving as it was before. It used to have a much larger radius at instant cast. To reward skill more, which, you know, has kind of been a trend from Riot when it comes to reworks, and can't help but enjoy it, because then when you see the plays we pulled off, you can know that there's a significant outplay unfolding.
Yeah, I do like the general direction that Riot has gone with new champions, having these very high skill caps. And as well as, like you say, the reworks, changing out a lot of the very, very, very boring champions like Shen. Ruler actually eating a bubble right there and coming out worse in the trade.
Do you think they could apply Occam's Razor to the lore and fix that too? They seem to have fixed the mechanics.
There's some things that are so broken you can't fix them, Papa Smithy. Sorry.
Oh well. It's worth a try.
These things include the client,
Uh-huh.
a replay system,
Uh-huh.
and the lore.
How do you feel about sandboxes?
Okay, well, Chaser comes in for the gank. We see Coco trying to come up here as well. CuVee going to get tagged by the Cocoon. Doesn't have to use his flash, though. And they do see Coco on a ward. He was trying to get that little bit of a speed boost.
Ironically, they actually wanted Expession to open up because he was down 100 health, so it would have been a stun on the E into the Cocoon. But because CuVee was smart, had that spider sense, moved back early, it had to be Elise, took a chunk of damage, and then Expession realized even if he dashed in, it wouldn't be anything really ventured, so anything gained from the venture, so just backs away.
Well, we almost had a moment of excitement, Papa Smithy.
Nope, no excitement allowed.
Perhaps the excitement is that Expession is now wrecking CuVee in terms of farm. CuVee had the TP.
Well, I mean, he hasn't backed yet, so the wrecking is kind of minute.
Well, we will see a potential wrecking. That's what I'm hoping for. Ruler
Getting wrecked.
Yeah, Ruler definitely getting wrecked right there. Pops the shield.
Well, it's tanking up a few minions and also the karma, so the damage trade does, while not equalized, go a bit better.
Coon flies wide. Bishop gets eyes onto Chaser, though.
Both at level 5, so it's one extra creep score over to Ambition.
Expession with TP, but considering CuVee already used his. Wants to keep on that pressure right now. Continue his wrecking.
You can see a little bit about the matchup in terms of the itemization. It's actually a Ninja Tabi rush from Expession.
Yeah, it does. Chunk out the likes of CuVee, sending him back underneath his turrets, and Wraith is going to be the first to die as Fury flashes for first blood.
Why was Wraith there?
To die to Fury and Pure.
But Ashe had already recalled. It's not like Wraith got to lane early to try to hold the waves. He hasn't bought anything, so he hasn't shopped. That's actually really interesting. You can understand supports like Wraith who've been playing a lot of those melee supports trying to be pretty aggressive at trying to freeze the minions, but on Karma, just like Bard, it's not something you can do, so we'll have to see a replay to get a little bit more information, but a donation over means very early BF Sword boots and also the dagger for Fury.
I think he just got owned by a bubble and then ignited.
That would have happened. It's just, why was he in range for a bubble?
That is a question that will haunt his nightmares, no doubt. Ambition trying to punish this, but Ambition caught alone. Trundle Pillar will divide Expession away from Ambition for the moment. Chaser taking that damage. Flash, though, from Expession. Blade Surge, and then the ultimate to finish the kill.
Oh! So Pure made the roam. Another bubble was relevant. CuVee's taking damage, too.
Yeah, is Expession going to go? No. Turns right around. Subjugate had been used, so could have been dangerous to continue following underneath that turret, but he got the win anyway.
It was actually really smart from Longzhu. You would have thought they'd back away, but remember what Expession invested in boots too, so he would always know Irelia's fairly high base movement speed and boots too. He would always catch onto Ambition, who had no boots. Flash, Blade Surge was enough to take down the kill, and we talked about some of the struggles in team fights. When you start loading gold onto carries, those struggles go out the window.
Yeah, that's... Longzhu needs to keep this up, though. Like, they have to keep the advantages rolling because Samsung, their zone control, their kiting is far too good. And we know they know how to play to these win conditions in the late game. You do not want to go into a late game 5v5 against Samsung's comp if you are Longzhu with your composition. It's just not going to do anything for you.
I mean, there's chances
so you have to win now.
Sure. There's chances you can win a late game, but it requires more on Samsung not using their resources effectively because on paper they have the answer to what Longzhu are trying to do.
Yeah, and Samsung is the team that I would not bet against to make those mistakes. I mean, I've seen CJ make the mistakes against the Vladimirs in the late game. Samsung on a very different level, and they've shown that they can play nearly perfectly in those situations.
Coco really now respecting the matchup with those extra data points supplied by Faker. He's going to go potentially straight for the Spirit Visage. Of course, could still pivot into Hextech Revolver and thus the Proto Belt if he wants to, but for now, Spirit Visage very much on the menu. And, I mean, the Drakes are the other things to talk about because the Drake RNG is really working for Longzhu. A couple of Infernal Drakes. I mean, Coco double scales off ability power, so can really get massive. So even if it's just the Hemo Plague and one rotation of spells, then just being cordoned off by Crown, that might be enough to turn the tide of a fight.
CuVee trying to trap up Expession here, but
Expession's playing these really smartly.
He's always been a good Irelia player. This is something that he will feel very comfortable with, harkening back to the early days of his career.
But isn't it fun that, you know, we had the three, Smeb, Duke, Someday. Those were clearly going to love 6-11, and we haven't even seen Smeb on the Triforce carries, but we forget someone like Expession, who once was a feared top laner, who loved his Jax and Irelia, and now the meta switches to him as well, just as Longzhu finally seemed to get an identity as a team.
Couldn't have come at a better time. The double bonus, well, that'll be a little bit of a steal there for Crown.
What is veteran moves going for Ninja Tabi first? We have not seen Boots 2 in a long time. Ninja Tabi target buffed on this patch up to 12%. Reduced auto attacks. We saw the solo kill by Duke onto Beyond's Irelia, but Ninja Tabi both respects and gave the chase potential to get the kill onto Graves, so the double duty from those boots has really helped out, especially.
Yeah. Playing back underneath his turret now, making sure he sweeps up the remaining CS. He's still looking for that completed first item as he zeroes in onto the Phage.
I don't think the chilling actually applied there, because Coco took no damage.
You might be right. Ambition and Chaser have had a little bit of a back and forth at each other's Raptors over the past few minutes.
They've got to kill in top, they've got to kill in bot. I think the Drakes really need to start rolling, because even with their Drakes last game, they found it very difficult to take out the game. I guess the game did end during the last Infernal Drakes buff, so when they finally got that, Ruler's caught.
Oh, Ruler is caught. There's the knockup, does fly a little bit wide. Arrow finds its target in Fury, and Wraith bounces back with a mantra Q. Coco gets chunked out there. Fury's going to go for this one, though. Not sure how wise that was. Bubble lands on Wraith. Ruler has to use both summoners, so it was a 2-for-3 trade of summoners as this bottom lane has just been a bloodbath in the first 10 minutes.
It's popping off 2v2. You have to think maybe the bubble was not off cooldown because it was only thrown after everything had been blown by Ruler.
Ambition, though, gets caught. Coco uses the Ghost. There's the Hemo Plague. They want to come in with this, but it is a 2v3. And they are going to have to just back away. Nothing they're going to get. Pure in a bit of a danger zone now against Crown. Crown on the pursuit, had used his ghost.
Backs away, okay. Thought he might be too overextended for the remainder of Longzhu to come and get the 1-for-1, because Pure would have died to a single rotation of spells, not a movement of people.
He would have died to a single rotation of people coming down out of the jungle too.
That's true. Seems a bit more formidable, a rotation of people.
Well, actually that's not true. So Crown would have died to a rotation of people. That's what he was afraid of. And Pure was afraid of dying to a rotation of spells.
There you go.
That's how it is.
Fine line between people and spells, it turns out.
All rotations are deadly, though.
If anyone would know, that is you.
Chaser, this is Raptor buff pop, but not going to be too much of the games from that. Ward relatively low on the timer.
Will Vlad finish the Spirit Visage? Because there could still be the pivot to Proto Belt, and yes, it will be Spirit Visage Rush. So I'm feeling that Coco has found a way to navigate this laning phase, and it never feels good to go full defensive itemization. We see a lot of people go Kindle Gem, Negatron Cloak into Proto Belt, but he was able to walk up and get EQ trades that he would have lost if he didn't have the magic resist. So this will probably be the new standard if we are to see more of the Vladimir. And given that he doesn't have any changes on this or future patches, I think Vlad's going to be pretty damn popular.
Yeah, Stinger second now from Expession. Not going for the Berserker's Greaves this game, so instead of going Sheen, goes for that attack speed, the 35% that he would have gotten from the Berserker's Greaves instead from the Stinger. So still just trying to extend trades with the W.
Expession needs to be careful. Expession's coming in, so's Coco.
Yeah, Coco just blasts in there, and there it is.
Oh.
Chaser switches over to human form to get that range and takes him out at the last second. Coco really committing to that with the flash, but they get the necessary damage down and they punish. Ambitions move forward into their jungle.
Ambition, of course, going to be slowly trying to farm his way to late game teamfight relevance. Now 0-2-0, has some more camps than Chaser.
CuVee does not want to be here. Cocoon immediately following the Equilibrium Strike. Expession just working him down with that true damage.
What the hell
Chaser.
is he doing?
Yeah, there was no jungler. His mid laner wasn't there. Crown now trying to stop this. This may be folly from the likes of Samsung. Pure has come up into the mid lane, walled off, and actually nearly bursted down, forced the ultimate to be used. Gotta be careful against that poke, and he goes way too deep. Crown with the Hemo Plague, though, is going to get egged in this scenario. Oh, survives with the help of the Karma Shield. So low on HP, but the Rift Herald was taken down in that engagement, so Expession, it's like he was the one who picked that up, most likely.
That's the sort of walk-up you could do against a Maokai, but against an Irelia with the item lead, it was just insanity from CuVee. The arrow was coming, the allies were coming, but the timing just seemed to be woefully off between CuVee and the rest of his team.
Well, he knew he was going to get stunned because the Irelia had a little bit of damage too, which led stun straight into the actual Cocoon. It actually looks like it's He-10 style and Equilibrium Strike both on 3 points right now.
Interesting.
For Expession, so.
I wish we could have seen the early laning phase to see when he pivots between the skills, because it can always be interesting. I mean, Irelia famously, if you listen to Wicked and in general, has always been that champion where each point in ability really changes the strength of her laning phase. Nice to see her back in the meta.
This time it's going for a very balanced approach.
Right, is the 3-3.
Well, working out, and Longzhu, as many faults as their compositions have, they've been given a bit of a freebie here from Samsung early. It's only 1,500 gold lead. They need to keep on pushing this if they want to conclusively take out this game. But if this Irelia starts to go off and Samsung loses their ability to win the 4-1 split, that's where Longzhu gets powerful, and they are going to dive. And again, just chaining the crowd control. CuVee trying to pick it up. Expession not going to die to the turret damage, but they respond by taking the Mountain Drake. Mountain Drake number 2 coming up at about 22 minutes and 10 seconds, but they traded for a turret. Expession Doesn't actually get the finisher. That goes to Chaser, but the turret, a huge edge.
Expession's just so damn smart. He waited for Trundle to do that first bit of damage, got the stun, of course. Chains into the cocoon and everything from there is very obvious, but the mind of an experienced Irelia player is on full display. And it's got them a pretty significant snowball. 20 CS and now a turret. And he gets Trinity Plus. He's going to have such movement speed and kill pressure that, once again, sending someone to answer the Irelia is not going to be trivial, whatever the itemization is. And as you can see, it's going to be Titanic Hydra first from CuVee.
Yeah. Big pickup. CuVee thinks he can play this matchup just fine from behind.
Try forcing the dagger. Things begin.
They are beginning.
I wonder where the dagger's going.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Wit's End, Edge case was buffed on this patch, but still unlikely. It's just, think of attack speed items.
Yeah.
Didn't build any other attack speed items in game one. It was full defense from here.
No, but I think he knows he needs to win the 4-1 split if they're going to win this game. They have to win that, basically, or pray Samsung makes some sort of team fighting mistake in a 5v5, which seems unlikely. So, if he's going to go for attack speed and just single out the Trundle...
Blade of the Ruin King, I guess, is the possibility.
I would tend to lean towards that just because Wit's End against the Trundle is not very useful.
He does have a Elise and Vladimir on his lineup, so shredding magic resist would be relevant, but I think you have to give the benefit of the doubt to Blade of the Ruin King and be happily surprised if it is the newly buffed Wit's End as Chaser.
Yep, pops up into the sky. Expession rolls through. There's Coco. He won't blink down, and there's the engage. Expession still alive. Chaser just standing, attacked by red buff right now. Can't do much at all. He took a ton of damage from the Brambleback. Expession flashes back over the wall. Pure here with the heal. Bubble not going to hit anybody. Crown still trying to kite this out. Here comes Fury, and there goes Crown, falling as the AD carry arrives. They get two, and they're corralling more underneath the turret. Ashe still on the bottom side, so this is a 2v5 on the dive. CuVee, the next to fall. Ambition trying to run, but single down. And Expession comes out of that. Man, what a great play there. Fury just joining the rest of his team, and they're still going to push for a tier 2.
What a commitment. This fight starts with Sivir in the bottom lane and walks the whole length of the map. We thought this was going to be explosions, but it's a full tank Vladimir, so the damage is certainly not massive. And I thought Expession is over-pursuing here. Of course, Crown is to re-come from the egg, no longer be Anivia, be the Anivia again. But he flashes over, gets the heal, re-engages. Sivir joins as well. Fury's aggression on his re-entry of the team was on full display in their victory against ESC Ever, and it's on full display again here. And now they just continue the dive, and it's just so well coordinated. This is not a Longzhu we have ever seen.
Coco played that dive super well, too. Just leashing the turret on the outside, trying to heal up with his Q, and then de-aggroing as Irelia was leaving there with his pool. And Expession just following on through, and man, Fury was just quick to get up into the topside jungle.
His aggression is just unbelievable to watch, and think about what he got out of it. He's now 4-1. Arrow goes wide. It's a 2v1.
Wow, okay, so the stun comes in. He actually used that subjugate early
to give a stun over.
Yeah, to give a stun over. Now Expession tries to get onto Ruler. Doesn't kill him, thanks to the heal, but Ruler had to use both summoners to escape, and Longzhu can't make a play.
Fury did use his heal as well, but the turnaround, you saw that damage from the Irelia. Still no clearer onto what the item is that will be built out of this recurve. Both, I believe, Wit's End and the Blade of the Ruin King both build out of it.
Yeah. Longzhu trying to take away this blue buff. Chaser steals it away. Big takeaway from the Anivia. We have a minute and 30 seconds to work with before Mountain Drake number 2 hits the rift.
Irelia respawns, Home Guard, Trinity Force, Boots 2, very quick, so will be able to answer wherever on the map she's needed. Doesn't have teleport, but neither does CuVee. I mean, just the investment from Fury to be able to conceptualize the fight and understand his Crown. Wow.
Whoa. And he stopped up right at the very
Chase needs
end.
to get out there.
And yes, he does need to get out, and he will. Drops down inside the Glacial Storm, but of course with crowd that low, dangerous to try and stick around longer than he has to. Does recall, and Chaser got some time right now. Of course, Chaser with a 3-0-3 on this Elise has managed to accrue quite a princely sum and get a Rylai's pretty early.
But you have to smile that he's gone straight for the Rylai's. Oh, another 1v2 in action.
Expession gonna try and dodge out with the Blade Surge. Will be stopped up by the pillar. Transcendent Blades doing what they can. Gets back to the minion wave.
Well, there's an Irelia player.
Yep. Classic Irelia. Fun to see again.
But the Rylai's is so smart. It makes me smile because we talked about the fact that Longzhu need to end it early, need to snowball their advantage, ensure that they're split pusher in Irelia, and just everything happens early before scaling from items like Rod of Ages is completed. Get the Rylai's, pile on the power, almost solo kill Crown, who's been farming away. Nice to see from Chaser, and Longzhu once again. They just have it together in every facet.
Another Mountain Drake, absolutely huge for them.
Only their first, answering Samsung.
Oh, that's right, you're absolutely right. So, still important, especially if Expession can win the split push battle.
It's going to be Blade of the Ruin King with the Vampiric Scepter in inventory.
It would be quite odd if it was the Wit's End.
It'd be so cool, though.
Would it be, Papa Smithy?
Warwick and Irelia.
All right, so let
brothers.
Chaser carry. That's what you're saying. And
Yeah.
Irelia is just a attack speed debuff machine.
Exactly.
Great.
It's just fun to see Expession mix with the builds, because remember, it was Triforce full tank in game 1. That's what he thought he needed. With the snowball here, he feels confident enough to be going for that blade, and with how strong he is, you blade surge onto this Ashe, and even if you're not able to stun her, blade active and the slow, there's plenty of damage, and from there, Ashe dies very, very quickly.
Yeah, really pushing this far into top lane, even though the turret has already been destroyed at tier 2. Holding their position while they look for this red buff, hoping to force another fight here, perhaps. They do have TP advantage, Longzhu.
They have good Baron damage as well, so...
Yeah, Wraith really didn't want to go for that one. Flashes out immediately.
Wraith, now that he's been taken off his comfort zone of Nami and Braum, has looked a little bit more questionable in this series, and I mentioned the Baron damage. They're going for it, but well spotted out by Ruler.
Got to use that hawk shot there. And, well, a wild flash Cocoon just misses from Chaser. Ambition has the shield onto him, and with the wall stopping up everybody but Chaser, it's not going to work. They did get both summoners from Crown. A minor win. Expession still trying to go even with CuVee right there. CuVee did have to pop his Subjugate in that duel. Attempted to re-engage here. And Hemoplate goes down, but there's no follow-up damage. Coco gets a nice regen, tops himself off.
Zoning Hemoplate.
That's right.
Interesting to see Longzhu still trumpeting around this red side of Samsung. You mentioned it before, no inner turret to really target down, no way to get a push onto the inhibitor. It's understandable when you want to take Baron, but you've tried that once. And for now, I just want to engineer a way to take this outer mid lane turret, because once again, Samsung's been sticking those outer mid lane turrets long time.
Ambition just on the edge of that Cocoon range. Knowing this limits very well. Longzhu just repeatedly attempts here to try and Death Brush. They do have some very good pink wards around the Baron, and there's no information available right now for Samsung. But doing this at Baron really requires that mid lane turret to be down. Otherwise, this keeps happening.
We've seen this before. Standstills.
Ambition is just daring them to do this Baron. And yes, they are going to take out that pink ward.
Ambition's also equal level to Chasers.
Oh,
this
wow!
tidal wave.
And there's a knockup actually coming through on the bubble. Great bubble. Crown eliminated. Coco uses his flash to get in and under with the pool, so they instead make a pick with the use of the tidal wave as Samsung tries to clear out that pink ward, and this will surely be a Baron for Longzhu unless Ambition can have a magnificent steal.
He might get a 50-50. Doesn't have vision, though. They're holding off on it. Gets the vision now. It's still at 1,500. Well done. Well thought out by Longzhu, and what a hero play. The ultimate into the flash double bubble from Pure. I think this guy really has it on. I've been really impressed with Pure on Longzhu because in a team where everyone has had their chances to struggle, Pure has probably been their most consistent player over the course of the year.
Yeah, we have to talk about his Bard too, which has been pretty solid. And his Braum, also a champion that he has typically excelled on, so that was a hell of a job getting a pick, though, from Pure. You're absolutely right. That's like, you could make that play, and Pure probably should be the MVP of this game already.
Insane. Just insane that he pulled it off, because remember, when you use the ultimate, you do get a little bit of extra movement speed. They were like, oh, damn, a tidal wave, that's a problem, and then the flash double bubble onto both Crown and Ambition. Oh, boy.
Gross. Well, big play sets up a big Baron for Longzhu, as they may have just snowballed this early game into some massive success.
Well, look at Fury's. I got 3 items. I got a red pot. Let's do this, guys. I'm ready to go. That basically says it's all in turret dive time. The only reason you would go for that earlier red pot, keep it in the inventory, is to make a play in the next few minutes with Baron buff. Certainly is the window for that as the gold lead. It's extended to over 9,000 for Longzhu.
Yeah. Rough times.
But now you look at the schedule and you really have to start re-evaluating. If they take out this game, suddenly every Longzhu game, whether it's against a team that they should beat down the bottom or a top team, suddenly looks damn interesting.
Well, maybe they'll just Jin Air it, lose to the bad teams, take wins from the good teams.
The Robin Hood approach.
Yes, they were called the Robin Hood team here in Korea because they took from the rich and gave to the poor.
That'd be great. But I mean, Afrika, they had the Ryze. It was much later in the season than Longzhu did. So then Longzhu has started, but Elise.
Just waiting for the wall, you know, whatever.
GA actually already onto Chaser. This is the ultimate let's turret dive. GA Elise.
Oh my god, CuVee is just getting slaughtered by Expession. Only the turret is going to turn him back in conjunction with the ult from Trundle.
Expession doesn't have teleports. If he backs, he will have to walk all the way back. Won't have enough lifesteal, even with Blade and W probably to heal to full anytime soon. He's spotted on a ward as well.
Yeah, just heading back into lane, clears it out with the help of the Baron. And they look like they've decided it's time to go for the third Mountain Drake.
And now Irelia will be better at taking turrets in front of a Trundle.
And taking Barons, nice. Nice. Cloud Drake, the one that no one will care about. Yep, will be the final one. Unfortunately, we did see Longzhu take it mere seconds before 29 minutes, so we are saddled with Cloud Drake in this game. Bad times.
The only Drake outside of Mountain. What a spoiler. That's the thing. We talk about SKT a lot. They draft well, they build to their draft, they look at the enemy's weaknesses, and when they're weak in the game, they try to take them. Oh, speaking of weakness.
Yeah, Crown getting chunked down already, and he has to flash. Emo Plague's on him. Coco is not done. And there he is, dies underneath the turret. No egg passive for him, able to be popped. So Coco zooms on through with the help of his 2 summoners, and this Anivia is just not doing anything.
This immobility is really being exploited, even with Ghost Flash to answer, and Coco's still looking to poke onto turrets. Chaser as well.
Yeah, there, just keep on going. There's a tidal wave. Ambition, now the next target. Coco is not done here. Zhonya's Hourglass use. He may be in a bit over his head, and he will drown there.
Longzhu's dreams of ending the game, suddenly.
Well, CuVee, focused down by the likes of Fury and Expession, gets too far in front of his team.
My kingdom for a minion wave, says Longzhu.
Yeah, still 2 for 1, still an inhibitor. Hard to argue with that performance. That kill onto Crown was mighty impressive, but it was a long shot for them to win the game there with the Baron buff expiring.
But Coco getting that kill to start things off before he over-pursued. The Flash Ghost ult, after the ult to get the Q. Knew his damage output even with this fairly low damage VAD build, although now with Ryze and the Zhonias, it's starting to pile up. Again, we talk about SKT and just knowing their limits, knowing what to do. Longzhu have played to their win conditions of early domination, snowballing the Irelia, buying items to allow them to finish the game early. Red pot from Sivir, the Guardian Angel into just pure health for Chaser. They've done exactly what they needed to do, and they're one more team fight away from ending the series.
It would be a huge statement. I mean, Longzhu, this team that came in with so much hype, spending so much money to assemble a truly astounding array of talented players, 10 of them last season, taking some #1 players in solo queue like Fury and Crash, and they just have been so pathetic, honestly, considering how much talent and how much money they spent. But now, if this is actually real, because if we talk about challengers for SK Telecom, you need a certain level of just talent. As Coco dodges out of that arrow, no real attempt or ability to follow up. But if we just talk about talent, you need a team like Rox. You need a team like Longzhu to even match the SKT players head-to-head. And if Longzhu can get it together in teamwork, they may be a real threat.
Let's wait till they close out this game to really pile on the superlatives. It's been excellent 32 minutes. They definitely look like they're one fight away from ending it, but so far, Samsung have held true. When they do go for these turret dives, they will be really opting into Crown, who may have his passive up by then, but definitely will be able to kite back and get big value out of the wall. So the game doesn't end for now, but objectives like Baron and Elder Drake, when that eventually spawns at, I guess, 42, 41 minutes into the game after this Cloud Drake, may finally cement the victory for Longzhu.
Yeah, Baron up in 30 seconds too. And Coco, Expession doing
Drakes.
Enough work. Yeah, like you say, the Mountain Drakes make short work of that inhibitor turret. And there's a big Hemo play. CuVee in the front line yet again. He will be the first to fall in this fight. Coco with the finishing blow. That's going to be the second inhibitor in favor of Longzhu Gaming as they make their exit out of the base right as the Baron spawns.
The one prediction I feel good about that's kind of coming true to me was I wondered about CuVee, I wondered about 611 and the meta shift, and I think this series cements to me that the warning signs certainly seem to be ringing true. And Samsung was so well suited to 6.10, the post-MSI meta in general, but 611 and that change of focus to top lane plays into the wheelhouse of Expession and Longzhu, and CuVee doesn't seem to be on the same page just yet.
Yeah, Wraith now firing his Qs into the Baron pit, hoping to get this one down, but Ambition just isn't there. Baron dropping low, 2,700 HP. They have to deal with Ambition on the side. There's going to be a flash
Chase is going to die to Baron.
Coco, and are they going to get something? Ruler trying to retreat away from Expession. Chaser does not die to Baron, does get his GA popped, however, and Crown now the next focus. Arrow's going to land onto Pure. CuVee TP's back in, but can he do anything? Finishes off one member. Pool underneath CuVee. They're trying to kite for
the
Fury.
bubble.
Beautiful bubble. Coco survives. And a bit of a dicey Baron there for Longzhu, but they come out on top.
Pure was one of the early frontrunners for the best Bard in the league. Was probably eclipsed in that, but man, his Nami's looking pretty damn outstanding as well. This was a big problem for Longzhu. Chaser had to tank it up, the Baron, because everyone else peeled away, so they're in a really awkward spot. He does still go in, but has the Guardian Angels, why he could make the aggressive play onto Crown. They all in on finishing Crown, which is definitely the right choice. And CuVee, so many different tempting targets to turn on to, but Pure has the ultimate answer, the heal into the beautiful Aqua Prison. Ends the hopes for CuVee. Comes pretty close to ending the hopes for Samsung.
Yeah. Well, they survive another day. They do get their mid lane inhibitor up again, but CuVee is dead. CuVee also has no TP, so Longzhu has a nice little timing here. Expession found out, trying to camp that brush with a pink ward.
40% CDR with just 2 items now in this new post-Trinity Force rework world, Frozen Heart and the Trinity Force. They turn on to Baron.
Expession not even there, but it's not going to matter. No chance, as CuVee still on his way out of the base. So Baron taken once again by Longzhu, and they start their push up, trying to get that middle inhibitor down once again.
Elation on the faces of the Longzhu members. It's just a few minutes away. I think this is the push they intend to end the game on. Items just stacked up on so many members. 14,000 gold lead. Longzhu Gaming have finally, it seems, taken the next step.
Expession low, is nailed by the arrow, had a blade surge into the enchanted crystal arrow, have to run around the side of the wall right now, the help of that Sivir ultimate, but they turn again onto the last inhibitor turret. Fury stopped up in that glacial storm temporarily, but they're still working that inhibitor down. That's going to be the inhibitor falling. They now have all 3 dead. Nexus turret has to be saved with a pillar from the super minions. Can they finish the game right now?
Bottom lane minion wave still far away. Top lane as well. It's only one minion wave, and it's just starting to come for Longzhu.
Yeah, may not be worth pushing too hard for Longzhu right now, but Coco does use the Ghost, trying to get in. CuVee focused immediately. Ruler has to fall back. Coco still on the flank right there, harassing the AD carry and support. Tides of Blood onto Ambition. Expession trying to get the kill. Can't quite make it work. Coco not going to get hit by the stun from Anivia, but they're just working down these turrets, and that is going to be the end of this game. Longzhu Gaming rolls to their 4th consecutive game win, their 2nd consecutive best-of-3 win, and a big upset over Samsung.
And this is the sort of sideways turn that makes the LCK summer that much more interesting. Longzhu will not be a laughingstock. Longzhu will not be a punching bag. Longzhu games, suddenly, they have to look like a real threat against anyone they face, because they've taken down Samsung, and they look damn good doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Still, I think the draft was a bit rough in game number 2, but in spite of that, they overcame that obstacle. They found ways to deal with the Anivia.